Akim Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all.
It says Almajiri and out-of-school children, which will have them virtually in all parts of Nigeria.
Commission for Almajiri Education and out-of-school children may come on stream as House considers bill.
The responsibility to penalize, restrict any service provider who violates established protocols.
And lawmakers to investigate violation of consumer rights by airline operators. Many thanks for joining us again on another fresh package of House Tickets, a program that documents the activities of members in the Green Wing of the National Assembly. My name is Dehelia Mamza. Tuesday 22nd and Wednesday 23rd November 2022, the House held the much-awaited National Summit on Tertiary Education Reform 2022 with a theme, Reimagining Tertiary Education in Nigeria, Issues, Challenges and Solutions. The discourse is the contribution of the Ninth House to fixing the wrongs in Nigeria's tertiary education system. We shall bring you a special report on this summit as part of our program. In addition to that, we shall report the consideration of bills at first, second and third reading, as well as motions and reports deliberated on the floor of the House of Representatives. The program begins fully after the short break. Please stay tuned.
The entire purpose of the legislative agenda is to direct our legislative resources and efforts in a coordinated effort to ensure the well-being of the individual in a life of safety and freedom. That is a high ambition, but it's well worth the effort. We have passed landmark legislation to fix our oil and gas industry, reform the police, and reorganize the corporate administration system in our country. We have considered and passed meaningful legislation that impacts all areas of our national life.
Thanks for being there. Lawmakers' deliberations in the Green Chamber start off the program as we bring you reports from plenary proceedings from 22nd to 24th November 2022. Highlights include the second reading of a bill seeking to establish a National Commission for Almajiri Education, a motion on power outage in a constituency in Kaduna State, and other infrastructural motions. The report is compiled is presented from our studio.
On Tuesday, 22nd November 2022, plenary was presided over by the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Ahmed Idris Wase. A letter from the President forwarded several bills for the consideration and approval of the House. The bills are the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matter and the Extradition Amendment Bill 2022, National Social Investment Program Establishment Bill, concurrence of the National Park Declaration Order 2022, National Library Establishment Bill 2022.
Delinquency and destitution.
Several bills were presented for first reading during plenary in the last 1 week, amongst which are Trafficking in Person Prohibition Enforcement and Administration Act sponsored by Representative John Dieg, Federal Capital Territory Statutory Appropriation Bill 2022, Cybercrimes Prohibition, Prevention among others Act sponsored by Representative Anyekan Umana, Public Procurement Practitioners Council of Nigeria sponsored by Representative Mohammed Tahir Mongono. Moving on to bills at second reading, Representative Shehu Balarabi sponsored a bill titled A Bill for an Act to Establish National Commission for Almajiri Education and Out-of-School Children to provide for a multimodal system of education to tackle the menace of illiteracy, develop skill acquisition and entrepreneurship programs, prevent youth poverty, amongst others in Nigeria and for related matters. This was on Wednesday, 23rd November 2022. The bill generated robust debate.
Anything to do with education, this Ninth Assembly has been very proactive, and it is one of the delights and one of the things that we say about the Ninth Assembly, that education has been a priority in our legislative agenda. We noticed by the establishment bills that we have brought, the passion that we have brought into education, even with the Al-Majri kids. We have just we started a 2-day summit on education just yesterday. This bill is a subset of our policy and our belief in education in this 9th Assembly.
This particular program is an interventionist to bridge the gap. And if it's an intervention to bridge the gap, it presupposes that it has to have a time limit. So it is in the light of this, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, that the gestation period, as we speak it in animal husbandry and in educational sectors, I believe that the gestation period for this commission should last for another 10 or 15 years, so as to bridge the gap and bring in the Almajiris to the terms, so that other parts of the country should be carried along. But if it goes more than that, it will be discriminatory in nature.
It says Almajiri and out-of-school children, which you have them virtually in all parts of Nigeria. So it's not just for Almajiri, but the entirety of the country. And particularly this is to take care of our brothers who are always on the street, also selling items and then do other businesses, meaning petty trading and the rest. Read the doctor, actually, it has taken care of everything. And I believe when he brought the bill, that was what we put our head together to say, okay, go and recouch it so that it can take every company of Nigeria.
It's a bill that we support totally, Mr. Speaker. We are not opposing it, but ours is that once we establish, and once this board is being established, the people that are supposed to do their work, the bill should be able to spell out accurately punishment of those that are supposed to carry out these duties. Because if what has been happening with the UBEC law, that parents that have not taken their children to school, they have a fine. Nothing has been done. So establishing this, supporting this, we should be able to look at accurately that at this point, let the penalty be spelled out. Let truly what the 9th Assembly is trying to do to be able to see that actually we'll be able to bring out that the Al-Majri students get to school, the children that are out of school should be able to be in school, and I believe that we'll be able to achieve that good mark that we want to do.
I believe the Almajiris are out-of-school children. And if a commission is established to address out-of-school children, it does not necessarily have to capture Almajiri. There are out-of-school children everywhere in Nigeria. But we understand the significance and the impact of the specific nature of the Almajiris. I believe that the long title does not necessarily have to carry the word Almajiri. If the commission is going to address out-of-school children nationally, then so be it.
We are all aware in this country the remote causes of all the insecurity we have in this country is unemployment. Because an idle mind is a devil's workshop. And this bill seeks to provide skills acquisition for not only the Almajiri, but for the out-of-school children, so that they can be out of the street. And they may be given or be provided with some skills, so that they can be on their own, so that they can be self-employed, which is the best form of employment.
The bill was voted on, approved and referred to the House Committee on Basic Education and Services.
Mr. Speaker, the long title of my bill is...
On Tuesday, 23rd November 2022, Representative Abubakar Gumi presented a bill for an act to establish the Bureau for Defense Logistics, charged with the responsibility of providing logistics and physical and technical support for the military personnel and for related matters.
The bill is an attempt to establish a world-class organization that shall have the sole responsibility of managing military procurement and acquisition in the country. In the United States of America, the establishment of the Defense Logistics Agency after the Vietnam War led to a reduction in the cost of making available logistics to the military in that climate. As such, akin to the American scenario, the proposed law is also designed to reduce the cost of providing logistics for the military when replicated in Nigeria.
Against any, that's a bit.
Several bills also came up at third reading, amongst which include a bill for an act to prohibit late payments, non-payments, underpayments of workers' wages, pensions, and other emoluments in Nigeria and prescribe penalties for violations and for related matters. A bill for an act to provide for establishment of Institute of Economics of Nigeria, empowered with the responsibility to determine and regulate the standards of knowledge, skills, and qualification of persons seeking to become professional economists in Nigeria and for related matters, and a bill for an act to establish the Defense Research and Development Bureau of Conduct and coordinate robust research and development in the armed forces of Nigeria and for related matters. A bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University of Transportation, Daura, Katsina State, and for related matters.
Motion that bill read third time, say aye. Against any, that's a bit.
To operate without complications.
Away from bills, Representative Timehin Adelegbe moved a motion on the platform of matters of urgent public importance on the need to investigate the activities of Web Fontaine Nigeria Limited.
With dismay, the federal government has been paying Web Fontaine yearly for services not rendered without taking into cognizance the frequent downtimes. Disturbed that the Dubai-based company is reputed to operate without complications in Dubai, while it subjects Nigeria to gross inefficiency with impunity. Further disturbed that while Nigerians lament about their losses, Web Fontaine bears no responsibility, no apologies, no explanations, despite being the cause of the poor epileptic services. Worried that there is no evidence that there is a transfer of skill and technical know-how from the company to Nigerian Customs Service. Further worried that the management and operations of the company in delivering the services is still shrouded in secrecy and is not visible to Nigerian Customs Service.
His prayers were that the House urged the Federal Ministry of Finance, Central Bank of Nigeria to put a halt to further payments of the outstanding monies to Web Fontaine Limited. Mandate the Committees on Customs and Excise to invite the Minister of Finance, Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Web Fontaine Limited amongst others to investigate the service level agreement of the company and report back to the House in 4 weeks. The motion was voted on and adopted.
And I hereby humbly stand before you to move a motion.
Moving on to motions from the order paper, Representative Ahmed Munir moved a motion on the need to resolve the lingering issue of power outage in his constituency in Kaduna State.
The lingering issue of power failure in Lere Federal Constituency of Kaduna State was resolved to include the design, supply, and construction of a 130-kilometer length, 132 kV transmission line with a 2x60 MVA substation in Lere local government in the 2022 budget estimate. Also notes that since 2021 till date, the area has been experiencing total blackout, thus having a negative impact on the socio-economic activities of Lere Federal Constituency.
There were resolutions on the motion which includes that the House mandates the Committees on Power and Appropriation to capture in the 2023 budget the construction of a 132-33 kVA substation in Lere local government. The Committee on Legislative Compliance is mandated to ensure compliance.
I rise to move the motion.
Representative Elisha Karu also moved a motion on the need to investigate the violation of consumer rights by airline operators in Nigeria.
Airline authority have a duty to provide airline customer assistance and services to ensure that air passengers get a conducive environment, promote and protect consumer interests, and healthy competition among airline service providers. The authority also has unreserved duty of care to Nigerians and other customers the responsibility to penalize, restrict any service provider who violates established protocols. The House is worried that the continuous complaints and outcry by Nigerians and other passengers have become alarming, with the consistent violation of passengers' rights to service delivery by airline service providers. Concerned that the inconsistency of air travel schedules due to sudden delay, cancellations, and early service provisions, consumers are shortchanged in their businesses, health conditions, and social and economic ventures without due compensation.
The House resolved to mandate the Committee on Human Rights to investigate the violation of rights of Nigerians and other passengers to quality air travel services in Nigeria. The motion was voted on and adopted.
Mr. Speaker, I come with the motion on the need.
Still from the order paper came a motion moved by Representative Anyekan Umana on the need to complete the construction of Ediene Abak Ikot Etinon Road project.
The House recalls that in 2012, the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, awarded a contract for the reconstruction of that road, but was abandoned after minor earthworks at the Abak Ediene end of the road. Concerned that the deplorable state of the road has hampered intrastate transportation system between Abak and Etina local government areas, and indeed the socio-economic livelihood of the people in the area. Informed that some miscreants and other criminal elements have taken advantage of the deplorable state of the road to rob innocent commuters and citizens of their hard-earned valuables without any form of resistance.
There were two prayers on the motion, and they are that the House urge the Niger Delta Development Commission to ensure that work resumes on the site of the project, as well as mandate the Committee on NDDC to ensure compliance. The motion was voted on and resolutions adopted.
You are still watching the program House Tickets. The Office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Representative Femi Gbajabiamila, between November 22nd and 23rd, 2022, held a two-day national summit on tertiary education reform. Details of this meeting are contained in our next report as compiled and presented from our studio. Keep watching.
This summit. Thank you very much.
Delivering his welcome address at the two-day summit held at the main auditorium of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja, the Speaker, Representative Femi Gbajabiamila, said that the summit is the manifestation of the commitment of the Ninth House to engender a national conversation to consider bold ideas and radical innovations to restructure and reform public tertiary education in Nigeria.
How do we ensure that every child born in Nigeria in this generation and hereafter can compete favorably in an ever-changing world? This is the defining issue of our age. And the answer is simple. We do it by providing a quality education that empowers the mind to ask hard questions and accept complicated solutions. We do it by training our people to revel in inquiry, embrace complexity, and not be afraid of knotty problems. A university degree or tertiary qualification of some other kind can be the catalyst that changes the trajectory of an entire family.
He noted that without serious determination to stop the perennial strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, the strike by the university lecturers may continue.
Now, these university strikes are almost perennial and preceded this government. The recent one was not the first, and sadly may not be the last, unless we determine to make it so. The end of the strike was a relief to all. It meant the resumption of academic activities and a return to routine for students. However, the end of the strike did not mean all the issues of funding, education standard, and student and staff welfare had been resolved.
So on behalf
In his goodwill message at the summit, the Minister of State for Education, Nat'l, on behalf of the Ministry of Education, appreciated the Speaker and his team for passionately intervening in the face-off between ASU and the government, as well as organizing the two-day summit. He gave a breakdown of the number of tertiary institutions in Nigeria.
I wish to inform this gathering that there are 215 universities, 4 inter-university centers, 219 polytechnics, monotechnics, 115 colleges of education,
115 colleges of education, and 147 innovation enterprise institutions in Nigeria. Of all these, there are 49 federal universities, 40 federal polytechnics, 27 colleges of education, 19 monotechnics, 25 vocational enterprise institutions, 7 innovation enterprise institutions under the purview of the Federal Ministry of Education. The state of our tertiary education.
The Senate President, Senator Ahmad Lawan, who was represented by the Senate leader, Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Gobir, while delivering his own goodwill message, said that identifying key challenges bedeviling the tertiary education sector is a multi-stakeholder affair so as to harness the benefits of divergent views towards some consensus.
A summit of this nature is most appropriate for this drive, and even more so when it is being organized by the exalted office of the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives. I am most assured that this summit will be productive for focusing on different angles of subject and for the invitation extended to qualified participants. We will surely be looking forward to reach resolutions afterwards. It is against this background that I congratulate the office of the Honorable Speaker for taking the initiative, as I commend us all for finding time to be here in the interest of our fatherland.
Day one of the summit comprised a special guest panelist session which featured former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, former Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Technology, Minna, Professor Tukur Sa'at, and former Vice Chancellor Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Professor Hilary Edeoga.
We missed, we continue to miss, and we are.
Speaking during the session, former President Olusegun Obasanjo said that if Nigeria fails to get her 20 million out-of-school children back to school, the country is on the path of having future insurgents and terrorists.
Those 20 million children that are out of school, we can't get them back to school. If we don't get them back to school, we are preparing for Boko Haram of tomorrow. And nobody needs to tell you anything about that. It will happen.
He added that the challenges of tertiary education cannot be solved without giving proper attention to primary and secondary education.
What are the sources of funding?
There was a lead paper presentation by the former Director General, Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Dr. Suleiman Ndanusa. There were different panel sessions across the 2 days of the summit, among which featured stakeholders like the Minister of Work and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, President of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, Director General, Budget Office of the Federation, Mr. Ben Akabweze, Professor Mrs. Uduak Ekbo from the University of Calabar, and the Chairman Chief Executive Officer of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, among others.
Universities should also look into the creative sources that the speaker of this panel has suggested. Okay. That will go a long way to improve the funding in the university sector or in the tertiary sector.
The question we should ask is, can we fund the system very well without passing through this route we talked about? The answer is yes.
The question we must then ask ourselves, what kind of education, what kind of tertiary education do we want from now going forward?
Here now we end the program. Many thanks for spending your time with us. Keep watching House Ticket on NTA Parliament and get informed on the activities of our lawmakers in the Green Wing of the National Assembly. I am your host, Dihelia Mamza, saying enjoy the rest of your day.